Hi guys, good night. Hope all is well with everyone. So I was asked a few questions about the Mrcs examination, and I promised I would answer tonight, and I'm going to answer them as best I can. I hope that it puts all of your questions to rest, and hope that is helpful to you. So with regards to the Mrcs examination, I was asked how did I find the exam. Well, this is part A that we're talking about. Okay, so for the part A, as I mentioned before, I did not pass the first time I did it. I did it in 2014, April 2014. Some of the mistakes that I found that I made during that period of time, I did not set out enough time for reading. I focused mostly on the question banks. At that point in time, the pass mark was 70%, and I failed by 4%. So the pass mark was 70, so I got 66%. Now, that 4% was basically what I left out in terms of my reading. Now, that might seem like a small percentage based on just reading, but if you're looking to expand your knowledge base, you need to read. However, the questions in the question banks are actually there for you to know how the MRCS questions are asked and how you should approach them. So for instance, at that point in time in 2014, how I approach the questions is basically how I approach the question bank. I just did questions, did all the questions, maybe like, not all, maybe like 90% of the question bank I did. Now, it was good and bad, because when it came to applying knowledge within the actual exam itself, there were some things that I must say threw me off. For instance, like in the applied knowledge, there are things like I was able to handle anatomy no problem, the principles of surgery, but you see like things like the physiology, which you have to read and know the processes and stuff. When you read those things, you have to make sure that you understand them, so that if they take a question and throw it around completely, they ask you like the clotting cascade, you have to know that as well. So if you just memorize the clotting cascade, you don't understand what goes where and why that happens, and what happens if a patient is missing whatever mineral, what could be affected. For instance, if it's calcium and you're missing calcium, and what could it affect? If it could affect your clotting or even your muscle contraction. You need to know that. You need to have the basic knowledge. So do I think that you should just do question banks? No, not just question banks alone. You need to read. I recommend the MRCS Part A, Part 1 and Part 2 books from the Past Test brand, but I also read around the topics that I read in the MRCS Part A, because when I read, I don't just read to pass an exam. I read to try to get the knowledge necessary to actually be a better surgeon, and that should be the goal, to be a better surgeon. So when I read far and wide. Google, you name it, I just do it. So I hope that answers the first question, how did I find the exam? How much time did I spend on the question bank versus the anatomy? So initially I spent 90% of my time on the question bank in 2014, and my result was a fail. For the second part of the exam, second time I did the exam, which was last year, September, I spent about 70% question banks, 30% reading. So just to show you that little adjustment was what I needed to get over that pass mark. And when I read a topic, I never tried to read new topics just before examination. I tried to review. So I could read a topic 3, 4, 5 times. In that 4 months, I read it over. If I forgot something, I would lose my mind and try to read it back over again. So that's what you have to do with that. Read stuff over. Don't try to read neurosurgery if you know full well that the majority of the questions asked in the exam are not on neurosurgery. You need to know the common things, like the circle of Willis. What makes it the circle of Willis? And where does it supply? Don't try to learn like every single tumor that comes in the brain, because the MRCS examination is a general surgery examination. It has other parts based on anatomy as well too. So it's general surgery, focus on that. Orthopedics, lots of limb anatomy, lots of limb anatomy and applied knowledge for limb anatomy. So if anatomy is your weak part, you need to spend more time on it. Anatomy is my strong suit. My weak part is physiology. I love anatomy because I like to know where things are, what they're doing. I like to find it. I love anomalies, you name it, I love it. That's why a lot of my lectures are actually on anatomy. However, I'm going to try to post some videos now on tooth anatomy, because I'm now learning that, and I think I'm lacking in that department. So that's just an aside. What took me by surprise? The amount of questions, and they've increased the numbers of questions this year. So it's a lot of questions you have to do. Because I was actually in a different time zone, because I did my first exam in Jamaica. The time zone, I had to do the exam at 4 in the morning, 4 a.m. to be on point with the UK persons that were sitting the exam that same day. So that wasn't very pleasant. You're up early in the morning. No one is on the road. You're tired. You're cold. And that wasn't pleasant. Then to get there, you're hungry after maybe like the first 2 hours or so in the exam. So then you have to compose yourself. Lots of exam questions. Majority of questions were like anatomy and physiology. And then the other paper came with a lot of applied knowledge. Lots of applied knowledge. So that surprised me a bit, because when they say, for instance, it's 100, 200, 300 questions and they give you a length of time, don't underestimate the amount that the effort it takes to remain focused during the examination with a lot of questions. That's why when you do your question bank, you need to do the mock exams. I advise that straight up. Do the mock exams, because even when I was doing mock exams, I used to stop, pause it, and then come back to the mock exam. Don't do that. Do it straight through. And that kind of drained me. So when I went for the second paper, even though I did better in the second paper than the first paper, the second paper I felt like my mind was just so tired. So don't underestimate it. Also, on the day of the examination, don't discuss the first paper until you finish the second paper, because then people start saying stuff and it can actually confuse you and actually get you a bit anxious. You don't need anxiety for this exam. What was my best resource? My best resource was the British Medical Journal, BMJ. And I'll tell you why. As I mentioned in my previous videos, it's actually harder than the real examination. And because it's harder than the real examination, it was really, really a good eye-opener to what the breadth of knowledge that they require you to know for the exam. So BMJ, 1 in question bank. Second, I would put past test. Third, I put EMRCS. So this is for MRCS Part A. Hope this helps. Continue to subscribe. Continue to follow my channel. Please like my videos. And thanks for the support.